Chicago just embarrassed a first-round freak of nature on national television, and now the same kid might be the next monster lining up in navy and orange at Soldier Field? This is Bears News Fan Report, and if you love serious, detailed Bears coverage with no fluff, you're in the right place with me right now, because tonight, I'm taking you inside a story that's quietly moving from clickbait fantasy to a real conversation in league circles. How a frustrated, hyper-athletic, contract drama edge rusher from Cincinnati suddenly looks like the perfect buy low swing for a Bears front office that smells blood in the NFC. I'm going to walk you through why the league is starting to question his fit with the Bengals, why the numbers, the tape, and the injuries have turned him from untouchable to expendable, how his profile lines up almost perfectly with what this defense is building around Caleb Williams' rookie window, and what kind of package it would realistically take for Ryan Poles to even pick up the phone. But I'm not dropping the name yet, because first we need to understand the context that's forcing this conversation. You saw what this team just did against Cincinnati. Caleb commanding the moment, the offense answering every punch, and a defense that, even with pieces still coming together, looks more and more like a group that expects to decide playoff games, not just survive them. Montez Sweat is your tone setter. Deo Odengbo is the swing that can hit big if the medicals hold. The interior rotation is deeper. The secondary is cleaner than it's been in years. And yet there is still that one sentence every honest Bears fan repeats. They need one more edge who scares offensive coordinators on Wednesday night, not just on 3rd and long when the crowd is already going crazy. That gap is exactly where this rumor starts to breathe. Across the field, Cincinnati spent a premium first-round pick on a 6'5", roughly 270-pound alien who ran in the mid-4.5s and tested off the charts in explosion drills, betting traits over production, and crowning him as the heir to keep their rush relevant opposite Trey Hendrickson. Months later, they're dealing with a messy rookie contract standoff, questions about his consistency, underwhelming early tape, and now a knee issue that forced him out late against the Bears. And that is not the script a front office wants attached to a supposed cornerstone. When a kid that explosive refuses to sign standard language in his deal, skips key work, then finally gets on the field and can't consistently win one-on-ones, it doesn't take long for agents, executives, and media to start connecting dots. Is this about environment, usage, development? Or is there a deeper disconnect that eventually pushes both sides to explore a fresh start? And every time that question pops up, there's one logo that keeps getting mentioned because of need, cap space, and ambition: Chicago. Before I even get to the name, here's what I'm hearing and what I'm looking at. People around the league know the Bears have been aggressive but disciplined with assets. They know this front office has a history of targeting elite traits and trusting coaching to fix the rest. And they know pairing another high-ceiling edge with Sweat in this scheme would terrorize this division for years. So when national outlets float mock trades involving a disgruntled rookie, when opinion pieces start saying the Bengals should think about moving recent first-rounders instead of core veterans, and when holdout drama plus injuries pile onto a unit already searching for answers, of course, the Bears land right at the center of the hypothetical. Now, let's drop the mask. Yes, I'm talking about Sheamar Stewart, former Texas A&M phenom, freak testing numbers, first-round pick of the Bengals, the same guy some draft rooms fell in love with because you can't coach that kind of length, burst, and flexibility. Chicago did its homework on him in the pre-draft process, and those grades don't disappear. They sit there in the database, waiting for a moment when talent, price, and situation might realign. Since that draft night, though, his story has been anything but smooth. Contract dispute over language that most rookies in-sign with drama, reports of frustration on both sides, limited impact snaps, efficiency questions in the run game, and flashes that tease just enough to keep the believers talking without silencing the skeptics. Capped off now by a knee scare and a viral clip of Darnell Wright planting him into the turf, which only sharpens the sense that something is off in that marriage. At the same time, you've got respected and not-so-respected voices across the landscape playing with the idea. Could the Bengals recoup picks by sending Stewart somewhere that can afford to be patient? In multiple scenarios, the Bears are labeled the logical landing spot because they still need long-term juice opposite Sweat. They have a defensive staff that values length and motor, and they own the kind of future capital that, if this season goes right, lands late in each round. That's where this stops being pure fantasy and becomes a strategic question. From a football perspective, if I plug Stewart into this front, I'm talking about a long, explosive, multiple weapon you can align wide to threaten the corner, loop inside on games with Sweat and the tackles, or park as a strong side edge who sets contain with violence when coached correctly. His get-off forces tackles to cheat their set, and if he ever gets close to the ceiling his testing screams about, you suddenly have two premium rush threats dictating protections, compressing pockets, and letting Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, and the safeties feast on rush decisions. From a cap standpoint, you're not chasing another expensive, aging mercenary. You post on a contract of rookie with high ceiling, exactly the kind of move that maximizes the window of Caleb Williams. From a risk standpoint, you're fully aware that the production never matched the hype at Texas A&M, that some of the early NFL metrics have been rough, that there are questions about processing and pad level, and that flashes plus off-field tension are never red flags you ignore. That's why, for me, this only becomes real if the compensation hits a very specific, very disciplined line. I'm not sending away premium first-round capital for a developmental swing, but if Bengals' frustration continues to simmer and the market settles around a creative package of future picks that doesn't kneecap Poles' flexibility, then yes, I believe the Bears have to be ready, because organizations trying to win big don't walk past 21-year-old outliers without at least checking the price tag. And remember, this isn't coming out of thin air. Before the draft, there were open discussions in Chicago media about Stewart as a potential target because of his outrageous testing numbers and scheme fit. And more recently, national pieces have floated mock trades and opinion columns debating whether the Bengals should think about moving recent first-rounders instead of core veterans. That noise doesn't mean a deal is imminent, but it does confirm one thing. The league sees a crack in the door. When there's a crack, and you're a team with a young franchise quarterback, a reshaped culture, cap in order, and a glaring long-term needed edge, you at least look through it carefully instead of pretending it's not there. Before I close this out, I want to hear from you directly. If Chicago can bring in Sheamar Stewart at a realistic cost, trusting this locker room and this staff to unlock him, are you pulling the trigger or staying out of it? Do you see a future terror off the edge in navy and orange? Or do you think this is the kind of boom or bust move that can set a roster back if it misses? Drop your thoughts in the comments, build the trade you'd accept or reject, and let's feel where Bears Nation really stands on this thing. For me, the bottom line is clear. As long as this conversation is rooted in real contract tension, performance questions, and a logical schematic fit, and not in fake done deal headlines, we treat it as a real possibility on the board. One more card Ryan Poles can play if the value lines up. I'll keep tracking every credible update on Stewart, on how Cincinnati handles his situation, and on any hint that Chicago might sniff around the edge market, so stay with me here on Bears News Fan Report. Make sure you're subscribed with alerts on, share this with that one friend who lives for trench talk, and keep this channel as your home for honest, detailed, and passionate Bears analysis delivered fast, with respect for your time and for the badge on the helmet.